So we have to be a little bit more conservative. I have to watch the gauges a little bit closer because you have a tendency to, if you race with adrenaline flow rather than with your minds, let's say, you have a tendency to burn your engines up. So I'll watch my gauges and I'll run accordingly.
With the end of the championship hunt in sight, the old adage in offshore racing could never be more true. In order to finish first, you must first finish.
And Rich, I can bet that just about every other team out there is going to have the same thing in their minds. They've got to try to finish these races, every one of them, through the rest of the year. Now, we told you this is going to be a very fast course. Let's take a look at our Gaffrig Precision Instrument course layout, and there you can see it, basically a big box. And it's got 4 turns, 6.5 miles. It's going to allow for a lot of speed as the fans have gathered here in St. Petersburg, Florida. Race conditions, temperature 92, bay is calm, winds calm, partly cloudy. It should be very fast. And who's this? Well, it happens to be Forrest Barber, driver of Drambuie on ice, starting his weekend out with what else? Racing. Traded in his number 4 open boat for a number 4 go-kart. Was quick to point out he'd be the one to beat. Forrest turned in the quickest lap in his heat race. Now he hopes success will carry over from wheels to water. And he's already on board the Drambuie on ice, checking out the instrumentation, seeing if everything is all set to go. The APBA Baja Offshore Series is brought to you by Baja Marine, the number 1 manufacturer of high-performance boats in the world. Baja, speed changes you. And by CITGO SUPERGARD Motor Oil, the official motor oil of the American Powerboat Association. CITGO, when it counts. For about 10 years, was brought back last year, so successful. Here we are again this year. The boats going out onto the course for their parade lap. Now, as these boats take the water, let's take a moment and look back at some racing that happened yesterday. We had some great action on the course.
The classic racing, Class A and B. These are the V-bottoms. Both of these classes display full race carbureted engines, the A class being, of course, the single engine class, and the B class, the twin engine class. Very exciting, very close racing in these classes. We've been thrilled by them all season long. This course was no exception.
We're starting both the A and B boats together, and as they came down to the line, they really lined up with a lot of power. But as they took the start, it was B1 SUPERGARD out in front. So the CITGO SUPERGARD led the pack across the field with plenty of competition on either side.
At the start, Dick, the A and B boats both sporting the same engines, the A boats being smaller, accelerated together, but the B boats have longer legs, higher top speed. Of course, B1, leading in the points race out of California, took the early lead. Jay Johnson, Nigel Hook in there, flew around the course, and they seemed to like what they found. Dramamine had other ideas.
I assume no one's by us. No, you're okay.
On board the Dramamine boat, now trying to catch the leader, CITGO SUPERGARD, and there you can see the distance between those two boats. Dramamine, the B-28, is the boat that is riding in second.
And Dramamine has had a difficult season. They've had a lot of mechanical problems. They seem to have more top speed, but they just can't use it because as soon as they've gotten the lead this season, they've broken down.
This is just the first lap, so this is the first time the boats have been around at full speed on a course that has very, very sharp turns in it. There's a lot of communication going on these boats, a lot of strategy.
You got a lot left, don't you? No, I got nothing left. You don't? Nope. Well, you got tab. I got 35 pounds of water pressure, too. Holy cow. Well, don't push him. Let him lead a little. It's up to 190. On the port motor again. Man, we're way high. We're 280 almost. How much? We're going way up fast. What do you got? What's way up? Temperature? Yep. What are you at? 270. We got to have something wrong. You can't run there. You'll burn the motor up. You can't be over 240.
And right there you have it. As soon as they took the lead, they had engine problems. But look at this in the SUPERGARD. 3 guys trying to steer the boat. They're all working on the wheel. Something is very much amiss in the steering apparatus on board the SUPERGARD. So it looked like both the B1 and the B28 limping around the race course.
But now you know why the B28 was talking about trying to stay in it.
Looks like they might be hurt. That's what I'm thinking. That's why I wanted to just get away, so in case they go down all of a sudden, we're not right behind them. They gotta be. shooting a rooster tail like he's got a blown drive.
A blown drive is the analysis from one boat to another.
Meanwhile, B-36, not suffering from the same woes as the first two, has moved into second place, and that's his best showing so far this year.
Great race. A lot of things can happen out on that water, and especially when you have very good conditions, very smooth conditions, because they tend to run those engines very hot. Dramamine still hanging in, and as a result, Dramamine takes the win in Offshore B. It paid off to keep those engines cool.
The winner of the Walking Wounded Marathon, Dramamine.
Great racing. Let's take a look at the Powerboat Magazine results board for Offshore B. Dramamine, followed by Team Baja, then the CITGO SUPERGARD limping home, and fourth was Unleashed. As far as the CITGO SUPERGARD points, CITGO SUPERGARD, the boat, leads 586 to 505.
But we were lucky. They broke. We had a problem too, but we had enough to get through the race.
Did you push at all?
A little bit, yeah. We were pushing in the beginning. Yeah, they give us a run for the money. They're no slouches, that's for sure. No, it was a good race in the beginning there, and then they had some problems, and we benefited from them. For a change, they were switched over.
We told you earlier that we had started both the Offshore A and the Offshore B together, and we wanted to highlight each individually. As we look down from our Caterpillar Marine Power aerial cam, you can see the leader in A boats, A80.
And this A-class is oh so hotly contested. In motion from California, Jerry Sorrentino and Norm Teague, always pressing the pace. This season they've had to chase A80 around the course, but this race they got very, very close. And A80, which seemed so dominant and almost bulletproof in the first half of the season, things have changed a bit in the A-class.
They certainly have, and as they lead going into the turn by the pier, A80 seems to have command. Watch closely, though, because A11 is trying to challenge and now trying to change to the inside lane. The Udder boat, dairy processors out of Kentucky, they have been doing great this season. And the A80 is hanging. Oh, A80 spins out, and A11 almost clips the front end. A cardiac moment for Andy Trouth and his son Adam as they spun out the Udder boat. A11, good handling, stayed the course, was able to get by, but boy, that was close.
And suddenly the Trouth group is having a lot of problems negotiating turns. This continues the trend that was started in West Palm Beach only 2 weeks ago.
Very, very fortunate on that one, as was A11, to be able to miss that boat because it was by a matter of inches.
And speaking of inches, all of the racing in the A-class was extraordinarily close. Alehouse had their hands full here in the A3. With the challenge from in the background, you see A2. Very close racing in the entire class. Because these engines are identical, the boats are virtually the same size, the circumstances keep the boats tightly bunched. In fact, the key to this race was in the turns. As you see here, by taking an inner line, the Alehouse was able to grab just a few boat lengths, and that was the difference between third and fourth place, and actually first and second place. It all happened in the turns on this course.
And once the A80 spun out, A11 had no problem going on to take the win. So as we look at our Powerboat Magazine results sheet, and the Offshore A in motion takes the win, but even with the spin, the Udder boat finished in second. But Udder boat is still leader in the CITGO SUPERGARD points, 590 to 569 of in motion.
That one lap, you pushed him enough.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it got us the win. We need the win, and we're still about 21 points down for second place. Our 3-minute penalty in Maryland hurt us, but we're there. We're knocking on his back door. Knocking on his back door. We're going to take it.
There was another race yesterday, the factory classes. Factory 2, twin engine, stock Mercury power in stock production boats. Factory 1, of course, a single engine version, the same type of showroom boat. The Matco Fountain surprisingly grabbed the lead in Factory 2. So I say surprisingly because the Mastery Engine Center there to the left of your screen has been the dominant boat in the class all season. In fact, the third place boat, the Sutphen entry, was also running very close to the lead in Factory 2. So Mastery Engine, which has been way out in front, suddenly found themselves in a boat race.
And Michael Allweiss, who's driving that boat, is the promoter of this particular event in St. Petersburg, Florida. They did finally get up into the lead, and they took the win. So a hometown boat comes in and gets a big round of applause from the hometown audience for a great day of racing. On the Powerboat Magazine results sheet, we see Mastery Engine Center takes the win, followed by Matco Fountain.
I think today we really did show the fans something. These evenly matched HP 500 stock boats put on a show out there today. Fountain Nortec, Sutphin. We were scrapping. It was great. It was great. A lot of hard racing out there. Let me tell you something. Side by side.
Factory 2 to Factory 1.
Factory 1, the single-engine production boats, but the same outcome. Chiropractic, Team Chiropractic, Jeff Barr and Greg Lohman, all season long, they've had the keys to the vault. They know how to make these stock boats perform. A little bit smaller, a little bit quicker. And F106 Ote in second place, as they have been most of the season. They've been watching that chiropractic boat, but they just can't figure out the way to crack their back.
Great racing yesterday here on Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Florida. Here's your Powerboat magazine results in Factory 1. Team Chiropractic takes the win. In downtown St. Petersburg in huge numbers, as you can see. Here's your starting lineup for Open. It is first class.
The fastest boats in the world in open class, 4 of the top boats to ever race in offshore racing. Modified class, equally quick, smaller catamarans, but very fast. The utterly fantastic team, we have to watch them. They've been shaky in the turns lately.
There's your Baja pace boat signaling to the boats that they're ready to go out onto the course. Now they'll take them out under the yellow flag. They are not allowed to pass the pace boat until they get the go sign, which will be the down of the yellow and up with the green. It is power on from this point. They're on plane for the start.
And a great start it's going to be. They've been rubbing their hands together, these guys. This year they've been so fast in this course. Flat, calm, very straight. They can go as fast as they possibly can from turn to turn. It's the turns that they have to watch, though. As we've seen earlier, it's been very tricky getting around these tight corners on this course. ALCONE Motorsports has been showing speeds reported to be in the 160s, and there's your start. Let's see if ALCONE is as fast as we think they are today.
Boy, the speed came right up on all 3 of the boats that are in the lead right now. WHM Motorsports on the far outside of the course. In the middle, this boat, DRAMBUIE on ice. There you can see ALCONE Motorsports on the right side as he pulls past Forrest Barber and John Tomlinson. Boy, ALCONE is trying to set the pace right off.
Absolutely, and ALCONE is hooked up and flying. They have this boat dialed in properly for the conditions. They don't have to do any trimming. Jerry Gilbreth was out right before the race setting the boat, and the boat came out of the box, as you saw, with just a little more speed. That few seconds required to set the other boats has gone to ALCONE right now in terms of an advantage going into the first turn.
Look at the challenge that's launched out there, not by DRAMBUIE on ice, but instead by How Sweet It Is. Carl Myers out of upstate New York in the red boat, and there's DRAMBUIE coming up on the inside. We have got race action at over 150 miles an hour on the straights.
Carl Myers owns a fleet of dirt track race cars, and if you just look back there, he was trying to dive the turn. He actually came in almost four-wheel drifting that boat, if you would, just drifting the boat sideways, and he was really flying up the backstretch. But ALCONE, so smooth, so precise, they can pick any lane and be hooked up properly for the turn. There you see ALCONE going in, pinching WHM Motorsports into the very first turn.
Again, those turns are very sharp. They're boxes. They're squared off turns. So if you have the inside and you don't have much of a lane, you've really got to control your boat.
Lanes mean everything in powerboat racing. You don't want to be in the rooster tail of the other guy. Water in your intake manifold kills your engines, as well as your propellers. If you're in broken water or aerated water, you don't get the bite or the grip or the top end or acceleration you need. So you want to be in clean water with a clean shot to the straightaway. ALCONE's picking his lane because he has the lead. He's leaving the options more limited for the other guys, and of course that means that you have a greater advantage as you come out of each turn.
ALCONE Motorsports, Matt Alcone out of Irvine, California, owns a big advertising agency out there. And this now, we have switched classes and gone to the modified, which just started. And right out into the lead goes Lightning Jacks, followed by the M00, utterly fantastic. And you remember in our highlights from yesterday, the A80, the Utter boat, which is the teammate to this one, had that bad spin out. So they've got to be cautious around those turns. Those things aren't forgotten easily.
And just as in the open class, course management is so key in these turns. Back in M691 CT Peppers, you can see the leaders, and you can see his options diminishing.
We'll come inside of them, huh? Left. Sorry, Doug. That's all right. Sorry, Doug. That's all right. Bring it around. Bring it around. Sorry, Doug. Fine. Don't worry about it. We're in good shape.
the ALCONE Motorsports team is out of California as we look down from our Caterpillar Marine Power aerial camera. A great shot looking really right into the cockpit of that boat. They are doing a great job. They've had that boat dialed in ever since the second race of the year. They actually won the first race but had problems in the second one, and that's when they cured whatever it was that ailed them.
Yes, they've been undefeated ever since, and this is the season where Jerry Gilbreath came into national prominence. Now, Carl Myers and Bobby Moore, speaking of national prominence, there's Bobby Moore who invented the throttleman position. They are the toughest competition for ALCONE right now. Tough because these two gentlemen will just push flat out without regard for life or limb, it seems.
The Drambuie on ice, the throttleman is John Tomlinson. Veteran throttlemans, Bobby Moore, John Tomlinson, they are great guys along with Jerry Gilbreath, all of them extremely experienced, and that pays off in this kind of water because this is the water that can really burn engines. You've got to know how to control those engines to keep everything right. The Drambuie on ice camera on board the ALCONE Motorsports. Very easy ride for Matt Alcone. He's really not fighting the steering wheel at all.
Oh, this boat is in another league. It comes into turns. He picks his line. It doesn't matter where he goes, inside, outside. He can just go anywhere he wants with the boat. The boat stays up. She's carrying more speed through the turns. She accelerates quickly, and her top end is virtually limitless. He's got advantages all the way around the course. Meanwhile, Drambuie on ice is working hard. Right in how sweet it is, Rooster Tail. They've got to pick the spots only that are left to them as opposed to the spots they want to run in.
Now, something we could point out as you look at the head-on shots of these boats, you're going to see a tremendous tunnel underneath them. These are catamarans, and because of that, there's a tremendous amount of air under there, and because of the speeds they're going now and the power that's being developed off the back end of the boat, they're really almost more concerned about the air than the water, and a lot of people miss that point.
Well, for the first time this year, these boats have shown a tendency to flip over backwards. They are, after all, airborne. These boats are actually planes flying on the water using the sponsons just to levelize themselves, keep themselves level. They're flying over the water, virtually not touching the water. They're flying on a carpet of air.
And the man that's actually keeping the boat on the water is the throttle man. Now, he's not just up and down on throttles. He's also adjusting ballast. He's doing a lot of things to keep the boat in a good attitude as they go around the course. And, Rich, you know, 30 years ago, that position didn't even exist.
Yeah, I started that in '69 out in California. I was racing with Billy Wishnick in the Bossa Nova boat, and we'd spun out previously to that race several times, and was starting to wear on both of us. His leg had screwed his knee up a little bit, and couldn't control the boat by himself. Back then we had no power steering, so he allowed me to start throttling and him driving, and proved to be successful. It really made a difference because he could concentrate on navigation and driving, and I could trim the boat and throttle it, so it did work well for us.
Still humble after all these years, Bobby Moore and Carl Myers, and how sweet it is. Today they're running 950 horsepower engines, and I think their combined age is approximately 950.
I'll tell them you said that. Aboard the Drambuie on ice is John Tomlinson, who has made his mark as a throttleman in this field.
Bottom line is you flat out enjoy it, and we like what we do. Sometimes you lose scope of that when you're just working, because a lot of it is working around the clock and making ends meet, but the bottom line is you really enjoy what we do. I enjoy the competitiveness of racing, and to be able to do that is what really I do it, really the only reason why I do it.
John Tomlinson right now playing a little bit of catch-up to the teacher Bobby Moore, who's aboard the How Sweet It Is boat off to the right. Lightning Jacks is leading in the modifieds.
There is definitely a reduction in the aggressiveness in the Moo boat, the utterly fantastic boat, running comfortably in second place, but they're not running their usual out front charge, hell-bent for leather pace.
But they better keep an eye over their shoulders, because they've got a hard-charging boat out of California called Out of Bounds coming up on them. Here's a look at your Powerboat magazine leaderboard, and the modifieds will be back in a moment. Star Classic, Dick Ribbon along with Rich Lurs as we look at the open class. Matt Alcone and Jerry Gilbreath on the throttles in the ALCONE Motorsports. They are doing a great job of driving this boat, so far holding off the competition. But How Sweet It Is right behind him, and right going to the inside of him now is Drambuie on ice in third.
Carl Myers is liking this course. He's pushing this boat, how sweet it is, as hard as we've ever seen him, leaving the options for Forrest Barber to be somewhat limited. Forrest is in that third-place position. He gets the lane that's left. And so far, Drambuie on ice has not been able to find an opening to get up towards second place so he can make a challenge on the boat he really wants, ALCONE Motorsports.
And boy, I'll tell you, those rooster tails and those wakes really play into that strategy. They have really got to be careful out there. When you've got a course like this that have those squared off turns, boy, you can get into those wakes before you know it, and you drop back.
And with the scoop on the top of the Drambuie on ice boat, there's so much capacity for water to come rushing into those engines. They have to be doubly careful.
Looking down from our Caterpillar Marine Power aerial cam, you can see that the ALCONE Motorsports has got great water in front of him. He's not worried at all right at this point about wakes or rooster tails. When he starts catching up to the modified boats, if indeed he does, because we're running several classes at once here, then he may have a problem.
Dick, if you wanted to diagram the perfect angle of attack, the perfect running angle for an offshore race boat in 1998, this would be your source. The ALCONE Motorsports runs just that much better. The boat never bobbles. It hangs perfectly. This is something that Jerry Gilbreath can be proud of for years. He has raised the stakes this season in terms of handling, in terms of acceleration, in terms of performance in the open class. It doesn't get better or more pretty, for lack of a better word, than this boat right here, ALCONE Motorsports.
And when we looked at the steering wheel, Matt ALCONE was hardly moving his hands at all. That's how good that boat is riding.
And don't think that's not a factor. Relaxation in these boats is everything. Here it is, how sweet it is. Now they're charging, they're flying around the course, but they're working very hard. It's difficult to keep this boat straight and right side up. Meanwhile, ALCONE, they're relaxed, they're flying, and they're going faster.
Still how sweet it is riding in second, trying to catch first, but meanwhile looking over their shoulders at this boat, the Drambuie on ice. And I tell you what, you can't count Drambuie on ice out. There you see how sweet it is off the right-hand side. And boy, you can bet Forrest Barber is looking at that boat and trying to figure if he's chipping away at that speed or not.
Forrest, no slouch in the driving department either. He's picking different lanes. This time, he chose the inside lane. Last lap, he was on the outside. He's looking for that opening, something to get by how sweet it is.
If he goes to the inside, he's going to have less of a course, but he's going to maybe have to reduce his speed because those are sharp turns, and that plays into it. Most of the courses we've been running this year have had graduated turns or semicircular turns, so they really haven't had to get off the speed that much. This one, you've got to be careful on those turns.
Another thing that's interesting here is the Drambuie has Chevy blocks. How sweet it is has Oldsmobiles. They have different acceleration rates, and that plays into this because where one boat has an advantage, the other one has a disadvantage, and you can see the engines come into play all the way around the course.
Forrest Barber's driving hard, and he is pulled up on the inside. Now that's going to keep how sweet it is to the outside on the turns. Forrest Barber trying to catch him on the straightaway.
Forrest Barber, the Chevys have longer legs. They've got higher top end. Doesn't have the acceleration. He's got the top end. Used at the long end of the straightaway. Look out! How sweet it is trying to make up distance. Spun out. There was that four-wheel drift around the corner, and it almost cost him. He just caught that boat at the last possible second. Great piece of driving by Carl Myers.
But it did cost him enough to give him back third place. Now Drambuie on ice has moved up into second. We told you there are other boats on the course. Let's take a look at the modifieds. Lightning Jack, like ALCONE, having a near perfect race.
Lightning Jacks has gotten better each race this season. They do a lot of homework up there in New Jersey. This team has a lot of power, a very fast boat, and they're very well coordinated. They had an accident in one race, but they've come back strong. Meanwhile, Utterly Fantastic, for the first time, is back in the pack. They're not used to this, and out of bounds, Lance Lanciano out of California, taking full advantage of the tentative nature of Utterly Fantastic this race.
Now remember, yesterday's highlights we showed you earlier had the A80 spinning out on the very turn they're going through right now. This boat, the teammate to the A80, the M00, they had a very bad incident happen to them in West Palm Beach, Florida. Both of those incidents have to be on the minds of the drivers and the throttlemen as they go through these turns. Down in West Palm Beach, Florida, take a look at what happened.
What happened was a driver and throttleman's nightmare. A hydraulic hose broke. They lost steering control of the boat at the long end of a straightaway in the roughest turn, the south turn, and wound up upside down. Now that has to take some confidence away from the crew in that boat, the M00, because this boat surprised them and it bit them.
Take a look at one of the most beautiful waterfronts in all the country, and it's downtown St. Petersburg, Florida, a tourist mecca to put it mildly. Not only the beaches, but the downtown.
This is the area, you know, where you can go to the beach and listen to the Florida Orchestra at the same time, or come down here and see 50,000 people waiting to see boaters take off from all over the world.
And Carol, of course, one of the big things about this is that it attracts people from all over.
Oh, it really does, and that's why we were so excited to be a part of this and to see everyone enjoying this great weather, blue sky, blue water, and great racing.
Obviously, these folks are welcomed here, and obviously it's a good thing for people right here to enjoy.
Oh, it absolutely is. I think having events like this great race is so important for the local community because it gives everyone a chance to welcome the visitors, but also to have great entertainment themselves.
Great entertainment for a lot of people, no question about it. We'll be back to St. Petersburg in just a moment. Watching the second race of the day, earlier today, we had 3 classes take to the water all at once.
We'll start with the Super Vs. These fellows have the largest engines in offshore racing. They have engines over 1,300 horsepower, supercharged in all cases. In addition, there's a diesel out there, the Nemshov, which is currently the High Points leader. The fastest boat, however, is the Ocean Spray Cranberry entry, because that boat set a kilo record of over 133 miles an hour in Sarasota, Florida.
When they took the start, as we look down from the Caterpillar Marine Power aerial cam, you can see the boat in the center of your screen. Starting to stretch it out is the Ocean Spray boat. Bruce Penhall and Dennis Segalis have that boat operating. They had a little problem with it earlier in the season, but boy, they seem to have found the gremlins.
Once they got their problem solved, Dennis Segalos and Bruce Penhall, the motorcycle racing champions from Southern California, have roared to the front, and they like this course. Nemshov found himself in 3rd place, our reigning national champion, the diesel-powered Italian Buzzi entry. He didn't like it back there. He raced up to 2nd place, but he just hasn't got the speed with this rough water champion boat to catch the newly found speed of that fountain out in front, Segalos Penhall. Here he is moving into 2nd place in the Buzzi.
And a great shot for you to see off the wing of the Nemshov. Now, this is the boat they just passed. Jeff Harris and Art Lilly aboard another new boat, the V76 Fountain.
And Art Lilly in that boat weathered open heart surgery just this past winter. He should be an inspiration to heart patients anywhere. There are no limits to what you can do after successful heart surgery, and Art Lilly is pushing his heart to the limits today.
And here's the boat that would go on to the win earlier today, Ocean Spray, the V81 out of California. And these guys have worked hard to get this boat operating just exactly the way they wanted, and now they have it where they want it. This course played to their advantage with that V hull. They were able to plane it out, get good speed, and they were able to come home and take the checkered flag. So congratulations to Bruce Penhall and Dennis Segalis aboard the Ocean Spray. There they are picking up the checkered flag. Happy guys for sure as we look at our Powerboat magazine results board. Ocean Spray followed by Nemshov, and then the Fountain 76 came in 3rd. And for the first time this season, Ocean Spray takes the lead in the CITGO SUPERGARD points.
Well, they were a little tight and kind of funny down at the bottom end down there, but they were nice and rounded, and we just fortunately, we had enough room between us and the 2nd place boat to kind of cruise in the turns and then, you know, light it up down the straightaways kind of thing. But they weren't really any problems for us today, the turns at all. I think it was a well set up course, and the whole venue here is just beautiful here.
Earlier today, we had 2 outboard classes racing as well. This is the triple engine outboard class, the Pro outboard class. Hooters P1, your national champion, locked up with P10 Crime Buster, and all year long, this has been the story. These 2 boats, it's just like same story, change the background. Each race course, they've been tied together as if by a string.
And it'll be interesting because this is one of the calmest courses that we've run, and right now it looks like the P1 Hooters may have an advantage on them. As we look now into the turn, look at the P70 sneaking up in there. Pennzoil, driven by Ray Akori and Nicky Coutreau. Look at how they have come up on the inside. They've taken advantage of the inside, got a great turn, and now they force Hooters to go through the wake.
Yes, that was a beautiful piece of driving by Ray Akori. Ray Akori is a multi-time national champion in this very class. Nicky Coutreau has been racing consistently, also many-time national champion in the class. They showed their experience, their wisdom, if you will.
Nicky, it's out of control. Go outside. Go ahead.
That would turn out to be the least of their problems as they spin out on the turn.
Crime Buster wound up going backwards on the course, and they were firmly stuck in 3rd place after that. P10 Crime Buster, just not their day.
Well, they turn the boat around and get back on the course, but they have lost a lot of time as you go on board that boat. They are not happy with what just happened.
Good job. Good job. Good job.
That might sound like it's a little bit out of context, but that's radio from the crew, and they're just happy the boat didn't go over and it didn't rip up. So they are trailing in the race now, back in third place, but the boat is whole, and as you can see, the winner, Pennzoil, Nicky Coutreau, and Ray Akori, very happy with another win on the APBA circuit. There you see the Powerboat magazine results. Pennzoil taking the win over Hooters. And on our CITGO SuperGuard points race, Hooters is still in the lead, 592, Pennzoil in third.
And obviously in '88, when I raced, it was a little bit different. The courses were a lot longer. Now it's a lot more fun, a lot more strategy involved. It's kind of like NASCAR, NASCAR racing. It's we had a real good time out there today. I want to thank all the people from St. Pete because they did a real good job, all the volunteers and stuff. And having a superb throttle man like my boy over here, got us through it real well, and it was a real good ride. It was a little bumpy, but we hung right in there and did what we had to do to get the job done.
Also on the course, the twin-engine outboards, the Super Stocks. These boats are great fun to watch. They're very nimble, very quick. They have as much top speed as the triple-engine outboards, and they get around the turns a bit quicker. Ryan Beckley in the Haviland Special, early leader with Willie Negler in there, and this boat has been one of the top runners all season long.
And at the beginning of the race, he had no challenge whatsoever. He had it out in the lead. But watch the boat to the left of your screen, Sierra. Here's Sierra, the S88, is putting away the S8, which is Team Stalker, putting him back to third place. Sierra now in second and closing on the leader.
Not only closing, he closed. Sierra took the lead from the Haviland here in second place. The Haviland now had his hands full because now there's a danger from behind. Could Haviland hold on to second place, or would he be challenged by the perennial winner this season, the S10 Citrashine? Well, sure enough, Citrashine came up on him towards the closing part of the race, inching on up on him. Joe Black and Richard Ginsburg, they started late, but they started clawing and clawing and clawing, wound up taking second place.
So the Citrashine took second. The leader, of course, was pretty much unopposed through the latter part of the race. Sierra takes the first win of the year for that boat. There's our Powerboat magazine results board, and on the CITGO SuperGuard race for high points of the season, Citrashine still your leader at 537.
Yeah, it's a little bumpy in the start. I had problems during the week with this boat, and I was a little hesitant to take the first lead, take the first lap, go fast. Got the boat dialed in, balanced perfectly, and then we took off from there, and it paid off.
Charlie, were you surprised at how much this race hung on the turn strategy?
Yeah, we were having some problems with the motor on the turns, and we're trying to keep the RPMs up as much as possible so we can accelerate faster out of the turns, which, the race is won in the turns.
Speaking about race, our action on the course right now shows the WHM Motorsports chasing down How Sweet It Is. Carl Myers has run a great race in second place for the open boats, right now being challenged on the inside of the course. Carl very wide.
William H. Mouth, WHM, at the wheel, and Joe Imprescia on the sticks. And this is a course that has challenged both drivers and throttle men.
We'll be back. Open boats, ALCONE Motorsports out of California. Matt Alcone is the driver of the boat. Jerry Gilbreth is the throttleman.
And right now they are enjoying a 1/2 lap margin over the rest of the field, and enjoying is putting it mildly. They seem to be sort of ambling around right now. They're taking the turns inside one lap, outside the next lap. It's like they're testing in the middle of the race.
Meanwhile, Forrest Barber and John Tomlinson are trying to get all the power they possibly can out of the Drambuie on ice boat. There you see it developing off of the back end as they try to catch that leader. Still kind of scratching their heads a little bit, trying to figure out what the difference is between their boat and ALCONE Motorsports. You're on board with the Drambuie on ice onboard camera, and it's a good shot of the action that we see in that boat. And we look now underneath that tunnel. They've got good air under there. They're riding high in the water. Meanwhile, Carl Myers, whoa, he loses it again on the turns, Rich.
I've never seen that before. You were watching a 46-foot, 10,000-pound skater slide sideways in a turn. That's not a spin out, it's a drift, and I've never seen it before, especially at that speed. Carl Myers, wow, you have really got some driving skills in that driver's seat.
And that little bobble That little bit of hesitation was enough to push the WHM Motorsports up to where now Carl Myers has got to be looking over his shoulder. He's got a boat on his tail, and looking out of the WHM Motorsports canopy, you can see Carl Myers on the right of your screen. He is closing.
After an adventure like that, I mean, how sweet it is. This team has to gather themselves back up. Meanwhile, Lightning Jacks, after leading and looking virtually bulletproof and modified, they're slowing to almost a crawl here in the back stretch of the course.
And they have gone to the outside also, which leaves the inside open to the M55 out of California. And these two guys have just worked this boat into a very good race form. They take the win here in St. Petersburg, and they're looking at what might possibly be an all Southern California finish in 2 classes. The M class from Southern Cal, and right now the leader in the Open, ALCONE Motorsports. Good racing by the out-of-bounds crew. Congratulations to them. They did a fine job.
Now the race for second place, and utterly fantastic. They took it easy all race long. Now they've got a race for second place here. Rob Stevenson and the utterly fantastic obviously has woken up. They're running pretty hot here at the closing stages of the race.
And they're not showing any of the tentativeness that they showed earlier. Meanwhile, Joey Padovano, who's got Charlie Hames of Western Florida on the throttles, both guys out of Florida, running back in 5th place. The rest of the pack trying to finish up in the modified class. Good racing all the way around. Out of bounds, takes the win, and there you see them getting the checkered flag as we check the Powerboat magazine results board. Utterly fantastic second, Lightning Jacks in 3rd. Moving now to our CITGO SUPERGARD points. It is out of bounds in the lead by just 6 points.
We tried going inside at first, and it didn't seem to work as well. We seemed to hold a little bit more speed if we could hang out wide with some of the other big boats. So we just kind of picked and choose and tried to find our good water and went with what lanes worked the best.
You seem to be very patient out there.
Yeah, we're definitely a low-key team. We're not too high-strung. So we, Lance and I kind of race our own race. We're not really in it for, I guess, glory and fame and money. So we're kind of out there just having fun. And when it works for us, we're real happy. And when it doesn't, we go back and scratch our heads and try and figure out what to change to make it better. So that's kind of where we're coming from.
Couple of guys from California, and here's another guy from California, Matt Alcone. He is leading in the open boats.
Matt Alcone and Jerry Gilbreath showing us how it's done. The Alcone Clinic 98 continues.
And we will continue with the finish of our open race. Stay with us as we look at the leaderboard. ALCONE Motorsports has it. At Matt Alcone and Jerry Gilbreath from our Caterpillar Marine Power aerial cam. They, of course, are on board the ALCONE Motorsports. Boy, they have really had a clinic, as you said earlier, Rich.
Absolutely. This is the time in a race when normally you start hearing noises, but this team is on such a roll. They're in such a zone. They are so cool, calm, and collected. I don't even think they're worrying about that. Right now, they're like unbeatable. They'll come an end to this series, but ALCONE is the class of the class right now, and it's just too easy for them at the moment.
I think what's amazing about it is, too, we have had all sorts of water on the circuit so far. This is probably the smoothest water we have had. We've had good water. We've had extremely rough water out there, and this boat, with the exception of Corpus Christi, Texas, has been able to dominate.
Absolutely. Jerry Gilbreath really does his homework, and the driving skills of Matt Alcone are really coming to the fore this year. This team is no slouch. You've got JT, Johnny Thomas, the reigning world champion throttle man, Forrest Barber, who is probably the finest pure driver in the sport. They've got virtually an identical hull to Alcone, the same motors, but there's just a combination, a system, if you will, that they haven't grasped yet.
And one of the boats that keeps coming on a little bit more each race is the WHM Motorsports. Right now coming on to How Sweet It Is.
The racing back here has been every bit as extraordinary as the racing for the lead. Bobby Moore and Carl Myers, they've put a new meaning to the term racing today because the turning that they've done has just been amazing. They've slid, they've half spun, they've caught the boat, they've gathered it back in. They're still holding 3rd place, but they've given new life to right through the rooster tail. Billy Moff and Joe pressure forced through the rooster tail. Again, dirt track techniques by Carl Myers. Carl is just a consummate, almost like a dirt track car racer today. He's using every trick he knows, and boy, with the experience of those two drivers, they've got a lot of tricks.
Let's look back at what happened to the WHM Motorsports. He came into the turn, but on his route, he had to go right through that rooster tail.
You're not supposed to do that. It hurts the engines, it gives you bad water to run in, and it also ruins your visibility in your curve in a turn. But WHM, they're hanging in there. They're battling for third place. You have to watch WHM. That is the Mercury lead team boat. Mercury Marine is working feverishly back in their laboratories to put more horsepower in Oldsmobile engines, similar to what you see in the How Sweet It Is. Now, they've got Chevys today, but Mercury is coming out with a new motor. They tried them once. They're going to try them again during this season. If they get them right, look out. There could be a whole new ending to one of these open races.
And WHM Motorsports has had engine problems earlier in the season, but right now, they're really apparently getting about all they can out of those engines, and very slowly, they seem to be chipping away at How Sweet It Is.
Well, I mean, look at the situation. You've got a 3-year-old boat. You've got a driver in his first year in open class. You've got Joey Impressor, who's the best rough water throttleman out there and certainly one of the best in any conditions. And they're getting there. And here you see them they're taking third place. They're getting by How Sweet It Is. So WHM not to be counted out just yet.
WHM Motorsports takes over in third. So we've got ALCONE Motorsports in the lead, followed by DRAMBUIE on ice. There you see ALCONE. Right behind DRAMBUIE on ice now, WHM Motorsports, and then How Sweet It Is. California's Matt ALCONE, Priest River, Idaho's Jerry Gilbreth, who was formerly from Southern Cal, which is where he got into the sport. But look at this. Look at the hands on the wheel. Look at Matt ALCONE. He couldn't be happier. He's out for a Sunday drive in that boat.
A man in his boat. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Priest River, Idaho. What do you do there on Saturday night?
I don't know. Maybe just strategize as to how the boat's going to operate. Maybe that's why he's got time to think about all these things. But whatever, it works, and they take the win. The checkered flag is out for ALCONE Motorsports. Matt ALCONE, yes, he is happy.
And the biggest question to come out of this race is what will it take to beat these guys? And right now, the only ones who know the answer to that is this gentleman right here, Matt ALCONE and Jerry Gilbreth. Trying to answer that question, DRAMBUIE on ice roars into second place. They did beautifully all day long. This boat did not misbehave. It went around the course marvelously. They were competitive in all conditions. They just didn't have the course average necessary to be in the lead with ALCONE.
And you got to remember that DRAMBUIE on ice is the boat that set the world speed mark in Sarasota, Florida early this year. That was at just short of 155 miles an hour, but it sure hasn't affected Matt ALCONE, who's getting the checkered flag today. We will be back to talk with the winners here in St. Petersburg right after this timeout. Boats in the world, Baja, speed changes you. And by CITGO SUPERGARD Motor Oil, the official motor oil of the American Powerboat Association. CITGO, when it counts. There's the scene at the finish line in St. Petersburg, Florida. Our Powerboat Magazine results board for the open class. ALCONE Motorsports takes the win. DRAMBUIE on ice second.
Matt, I don't know how you do it better than that.
No, today everything just fell into the groove, and from the minute the green flag dropped, the boat felt so strong, and, you know, the setup was so good for these conditions. But again, you know, that's what Jerry and the crew are masters of, just making sure the boat's right for the conditions today, and as you saw, it was set up right.
We watched you come around the pier turn again and again and again. It seemed like it didn't matter what lane you were in, inside, outside, change lanes, in the middle. The boat went where you put it.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of practice doing that, and Jerry is a tough boss, you know, and in the boat he's the boss, and he doesn't let me make sloppy turns too often, and he'll get on me. So, you know, we really practice being able to control the boat through the turn, and the boat, you know, just handles great, and Jerry throttles it great through a turn, and we feel very comfortable now.
So after the St. Petersburg Hurricane Offshore Classic, our CITGO SUPERGARD points shows ALCONE Motorsports out in the lead by 19 points.
We've done a lot of work on adjusting the balance of the boat and trying to adjust the straight line stability. So yeah, the boat handles real good and run faster than we've ever gone in a race before, but we were just short several miles an hour.
So we're still in search of a few more miles an hour.
We need some more mile an hour.
Are we going to get them?
We're going to work our tail off to get them.
The turns were very, very unique. It was a good race. We're not exactly used to the short courses, but it's going to be interesting, and this is what race is going to be about in the future. We're all going to gear up for it, set up for it, and probably be making better boats for it.
If you want more information on APBA offshore racing, check our website at apba-offshore.com. We want to say thanks to some of the folks that helped us out, like aerial photography by Freeze Frame Video. Jeff Girardi and the crew, they did a great job with our onboard cameras today. We do appreciate it. We'd also like to thank Tri-County Incorporated, reliable two-way radios, customized communications, qualified technical assistance. You can call them in Ohio or Florida. They'll take care of you. So that's it. There's your winning team, Matt Alcone and Jerry Galbraith. I'm Dick Crippen for Rich Lors. So long from the Sunshine State.